it takes me back to my second year of practicing law at Sherman and Sterling. And what happened was I had chosen that firm to go to after law school because it had a very strong sovereign debt restructuring practice. And I thought that would be a wonderful way to learn about how the financial and economic systems can shape the opportunities and challenges of those living in emerging markets. And so that attracted me. What I perhaps didn't fully appreciate was that I had chosen the firm that often represented the banks in those transactions. So at times I did feel a little bit like a lamb in wolf's clothing. But I think as far as my training and experience goes, that was precisely the place I needed to land in. But as you might imagine, going into a big law firm, I'm a small town Midwestern girl. No one in my family had ever been a lawyer. That was not the career path people were looking at when they saw me. Getting into a big New York law firm was a bit challenging for me. And I was wondering within my second year of practice how my big dreams of changing the world were going to actually come to fruition. And I came in from lunch one day, and this would have been in 1987. And there was an op-ed from the New York Times written by someone you know, Spencer Beebe and Peter Seligman, who were the founders of Conservation International. And the op-ed was called "Using Debt to Save Nature." And one of the partners in the law firm who I had shared with a little bit of my, how does this, what I'm learning here at this law firm, going to help me do just make a better world? He had put it on my desk and he had written a note on it, and he said, find out who Conservation International is and tell them that we will help them use debt to save nature. Well, that's all it took for me. And I started calling every person I knew who might have a contact at Conservation International. It took me several weeks, but I ended up finding the right person. And I ended up doing the world's first Debt for Nature swap under the supervision of this partner in our law firm. And I ended up having a very strong and healthy pro bono practice that started about 10 p.m. each night. And I did debt for nature, debt for development. At one point, there was even a possible project that never got off the ground of debt for diaphragms. But I was seeing at a very early stage of my career how Wall Street-like skills could be applied to doing good in the world. And maybe I should say what I mean by debt for nature, because it's having a renaissance right now. But in 1987, what Debt for Nature was talking about, and it really leaned heavily on some thoughts that Dr. Thomas Lovejoy at World Wildlife Fund had first come up with in 1983, which is this idea that there was a lot of distressed sovereign debt in the world. And that burden was actually encouraging these markets, particularly those in Latin America at that point in time, to destroy their rainforest in order to be able to pay off this debt. And he was like, well, what if we flip that? What if we actually relieve debt burdens in return for more resources and attention going into the preservation of our natural resources? And it was that idea that Spencer and Peter took on board. And they got a $100,000 grant. And they took that money and they bought $650,000 in the secondary market. This was of Bolivian commercial bank debt. So you can see the kind of discount that was involved. And they were in the process of negotiating a program with the Bolivian government. And this is what they described in that op-ed, where they would relieve that debt, that is, tear it up, in return for a public-private partnership that would really both have a focus on ecosystem conservation and also regional development in the Beni biosphere. reserve in Bolivia. And so that's what Debt for Nature looked like in 1987. It's much bigger now. It has a lot more sophistication as to the way the deals are structured. But this was the kernel of the idea that I got to work as a baby lawyer. And it changed my whole sense of myself, my skills, and how I could plug into the world.